Hey guys, I'm here to tell you about my project that I did for my Hackers Week project, and I'm really excited because I actually did something that I've wanted to do for quite a while. I just have never made the time for it, and this, I guess, forced me to do it. I decided to finally get my Google certification, and yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I learned a lot from it. So I wanted to show you guys more actually just kind of I wanted to go to the website and show you guys actually how you do it. So if you go to this website, it's called the Edu Training Center, but if you just Google Google Certified Educator, it'll take you to this website. And there are different levels you can do. So you can do level 1 or level 2. I started with level 1. And I was thinking it was going to be super basic, so I use Google in my classroom every day. We do everything on Google Classroom, and so I considered myself pretty familiar with most of the Google apps, but I really learned so much. So if you go into this fundamentals training, the way that it's set up is it takes you through a course, a training course, and there are, I think there are 13 different units, and at the end of each unit there's a quiz to kind of test yourself. And then when you've gone through all the training, then there's actually an exam that you take. The exam is a 3-hour exam, and half the exam is multiple choice based on the stuff in the training, and the other half of the exam is just practical, having you actually apply those skills that you learned. So if you look through here, there's a lot of focus on things like Google Classroom and how to use Google Classroom, but there's also a lot of focus on just some of the basic aspects of some of the different apps in the Google Suite. And I learned a lot of really cool things that I had no idea these apps were capable of. So going back to my presentation, these are just some of the cool things that I learned. I could go on about this for a really long time, but I just wanted to show you a couple of the things. So I've never really been too big into Google Plus, but I thought that was really cool. You can actually there's a network for educators, and so you can connect with educators in your area. I also never knew that you could use Drive offline, so that's something that's really cool. I wanted to show you something with Gmail, because that's something that we tend to use pretty much every day, and there's a lot of stuff that I had no idea, and maybe it's just me, maybe I am just don't realize all the stuff we can do, but you can change your inbox to something called a priority inbox, and so that will set it so that it doesn't just, it sorts it based on the things that you look at often, so you have this important and unread, that is just a really good way to clean up your inbox. Also, something else that I hadn't really used too much before, over here, if you go down from Gmail, you can click on tasks over here, and it will pop up this little chart here. And so if you see an email and somebody tells you, hey, let's have this meeting on Wednesday, then you can go right over here and you can add a task in, and you can even set it to remind you of something. So that's something that was really cool that I never realized. And there's a couple other things, but for the sake of time, I'm going to go back. Something else, I had never really thought of using Google Hangouts, just like the chat function of Google Hangouts, to have the kids, talk to each other about things that they were doing. These are a couple of other things, so you can just kind of see what I said there. But the last thing I wanted to show you, because I thought this was really cool, is something called Google Keep. And I had heard of this before, but I hadn't really played around with it very much. There's just so many neat things you can do with this. So this is basically like a digital, you can make it a to-do list, you could make it a note-taking space to gather things. I even thought about, having the kids use this as a form of note-taking when they're doing their research. And something that's cool about this is for each note card, you can change the color, you can add an image. you can also, because it's Google, you can also add collaborators. So if you were, if the kids were working on a project, they can add collaborators to do that. Anyways, there's just some really neat things you can do with this. And I learned all of these things through the Google training, and a lot more. These are just some of kind of the highlights. And I learned a lot of new ways that I can actually use these Google apps in the classroom. And that's what I also really loved about it, was that it was geared towards how you can make your teaching more efficient through these different apps. And yeah, they explain things really well. And then anyways, once you're finished with the training, then there's actually an exam. It's a 3-hour exam. And then if you pass the exam, then you become certified. And I was really nervous because during the exam, they like have you turn on your webcam and, you know, watch to make sure that you're not cheating or whatever. But I was able to pass the exam and get certified. So yeah, that was just a little bit about my project. I hope you enjoyed it, and everyone have a great day.